Welcome and good evening, everybody. And thank you so much for joining us tonight for a book chat I have been looking forward to for weeks with Alice Keeler and Kimberly Mattina, who's going to sit down with me tonight for their latest book together, Teaching with Google Jamboard. My name is Melody McAllister. And if this is your first time joining us tonight, or you join us every chance you get, I want to thank you. You can catch the live broadcast every Wednesday from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and you can catch the replay on these same channels. Every week, I thank Alice Keeler for giving us her platform for these broadcasts and shining a spotlight on the work of incredible people. So it is an honor to have her on tonight to feature the work she and Kimberly have created for us. This time last year, Kim and Alice brought us Stepping Up to Google Classroom, 50 Steps for Beginners to Get Started, in a time where teachers were relying heavily on Google Classroom for remote and hybrid teaching. And just like that incredible book that guides, Teaching with Google Jamboard can help every teacher use technology to build stronger relationships, focused on social emotional development through content and procedures, and amplify the voices of wonderful young people that we serve while keeping equitable practices in mind through it all. The best part is that these ideas work in face-to-face and virtual settings. These ladies love tech, but they didn't write this to be more techy. Their books show educators how to connect through tech and make lessons more engaging. So I hope you'll listen into our chat tonight and begin to see the possibilities that they bring forth with Teaching with Google Jamboard. Alice and Kim, it's incredible to be in the same space as you both. Thank you for joining us tonight. How are you? And would you please tell us a little bit about your background and why you chose Jamboard for your next project?
Well, Melanie, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm so touched by your kind words. I just can't believe that you introduced us that way, so I appreciate that. And yes, so I am Kim Mattina. I am a computer science teacher this year, going into September. For nearly 15 years, I've been in education. I am a middle school at the Galloway Township Middle School in New Jersey. I'm also a Google certified trainer and educator, as well as a few other things. But really, Jamboard was my special app that I loved even before we went remote learning. And once everything happened with the pandemic, Alice and I thought that it would have been best to start writing about Google Jamboard. We thought that it would help educators with remote learning, even online learning, even face-to-face learning. So we started doing our little collaboration with this book, and it's definitely special because it targets everybody from K to 12, even in the college level, and it's for everyone. It's written very simple, even if you don't know Google Jamboard. It's written for the beginners. It's written for intermediate users and for advanced users. So, and we go over the web-based, we go over the app, and we do go over the kiosk as well. So we give everyone a little bit of variety with this book. So this book is very special to me.
I love that. And actually, I totally agree with you that it is for every learner. I mean, I consider myself, especially when I'm in the room with both of you, like I'm on the beginner end, but I really think that you could open this, and the way that you have it set up, you start with the language of Google Jamboard and what everything is. I just really feel like this is a great resource for every teacher. And I love that you said we can do this with however we're teaching. And I totally agree. So Alice, tell us a little bit about your background and why you wanted to do this as well.
It's actually a little funny. I have been a bit of a Jamboard hater for a long time. And I know that Kim is like, she loves it. And for a long time, it was very basic. They've actually added in some features in the last year-ish, would you say, Kim, that really makes it like, okay, I'm actually really excited about this. One of which is that you can customize the background, which is really huge to get away from just having this little tiny graph paper or limited options. But I think it's also important to remember that it is not Google Slides. Jamboard is not Google Slides. If you try to think about it like Google Slides, you get very grumpy. So today, my superintendent texted me and said, I got a Jamboard kiosk. Now let's make sure that we're clear. We got a little tiny picture over here in the corner of the Jamboard kiosk. You don't need this. This is not needed. In fact, we've got it real clear in the book. Jamboard is free. Jamboard jams are free. The kiosk is not. But I got the kiosk today, and I'm trying to sell this to my administrator. It's not a smart board. We're not going to call it that. And I'm really into interacting with students and having student voice and students do the talking. And I don't want something that's fixed on the wall that makes it the front of the room. I've been saying for years, like, let's get rid of the front of the room. So my Jamboard has wheels, number one. It's not real big. It's smaller, it's portable, so I can move around. But when I opened it up today and I'm using this, and I was thinking I'd have a lot more, and to be honest, today is the first day I've ever touched a Jamboard kiosk. I have written a book on Google Jamboard, and today is the first day I touched the kiosk. So you don't need that, friends. You don't need that because Jamboard is free. But I thought that maybe that the actual kiosk would have more colors. No, no. Because it's not a presentation tool. It's not Google Slides. It's not designed to be a replacement for a smartboard. And so I told the woman who I share a classroom with, I'm like, you're not allowed to say that. That's not what it is. It's a collaboration tool, and you just got to really refix how you're thinking. So, before when I looked at it, I'm just like, I'm not sure really how to use this. It has some limiting features to it that I think that they have really addressed and fixed. There's now version history. Yes.
Yay! I'm going to put my totally Brad. Yes!
I know that was one of the barriers that several of us felt during remote learning was the lack of version history. So that has finally come in here. My phone's blowing up, so I'm going to put on Do Not Disturb. It's just getting, it was close, but it wasn't quite there for me. And so then I had such a good time collaborating with Kim on stepping up to Google Classroom. Kim is my people. New Jersey people are my type. Yes. And I'm like, Kim, let's do another one, because we just have really great. Kim works hard. This woman's willing to get up early. She'll work on it every day. She makes me look lazy. And so I'm like, we got the stepping up to Google Classroom. I go, okay, look, I know that you love Jamboard. So let's just get your Jamboard book out of the way, because I'm pretty sure she was like halfway done with it, because she's been talking about it like the whole time that I've known her. And then we'll do our project we really want to do. And you know what? It ends up, this is my favorite book of all. This is my 7th book. Of all of the books that I've written, this one has turned out to be my favorite, because it really has that focus on the interactions, the collaboration, the student voice, the students doing the talking. And that's what Jamboard does for you. And that's by design. And so some of the limiting features, like, why can't I? Like, no, you're missing it. It's not about the fancy features. It's about the students interacting, collaborating, that you get their ideas and their voice. And so when she shared what she had, I think you had, 2 pages, Kim, is that how much you have on the book? 5? Not this much. And so
I don't understand. What are you talking about? How many?
What you had before we started the book. You had started a book on your own, get on the Jamboard train.
5, 6 pages.
Yeah. So we basically really, truly did write this book together. I couldn't even say that one of us contributed more than the other. I mean, we were both in the Google Doc constantly with lots of revisions. She's working from the bottom and I'm from the top. And it just really came together really from a collaboration point of view, is all these great ideas and synergy, where we're really talking about what makes learning better. And that's really what drove us to write this. So we have 180 QR codes of sample jams. And
yes, you do.
If you scan the QR code, it'll prompt you to make a copy of it. So you'll get your own copy of the jam.
And that's why I really think that this is for every teacher. And I mean, we are K-12, but honestly, I think it's great for those teachers and, teaching even after, whatever, if they're in college or whatever that they're teaching. And one of the things that is kind of like in my area where I love social emotional learning, you guys talk really in depth about the 4 C's. This is really important and the key part of why Google Jamboard works. Who wants to take over and tell us about the 4 C's?
I can, if you want me to. I see Alice pointing to me. So the 4 C's of education are communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. And Jamboard supports all 4 C's. And without the collaboration, like you don't need the kiosk. You know, you can create a sample jam. You can create a jam right from your drive, and students can collaborate right in there. And it's such an open space. It's a blank canvas that it leaves it wide open for the creativity for students to incorporate whatever they're working on and spark their creativity. And it also can support critical thinking, because if you're brainstorming, if you're doing research, if you're trying to do any type of problem solving, the critical thinking skills will follow with all that. And the communication piece, again, if you're working in groups, we would hope that you would be working in groups, but it supports all of that communication, face-to-face, digital communication. So it's a wonderful tool. It's a simple interface. It's just a blank canvas that has so many possibilities. It's really wide open to allow you to bring in what you're working with. I always say think out of the box when you're working with Jamboard, because that's what it is. You have to think out of the box. It's a digital whiteboard. We all know it. It integrates with so much now because of remote learning. But even before remote learning hit and the pandemic hit, I always say think out of the box when you use Jamboard, because that's where you're going to spark the creativity. One of the activities that we mentioned in the book was to create like a picture graph, not like a picture graph, but I forgot what we called it, Alice. It was like we would create like pictures, and then you'd have to think of what they were, basically like a Pictionary.
Mhm.
And you know, I forgot what I called it actually, but it was a great way to break the ice, or our little do now project. Just to get kids going in the beginning of the class period. It's just something like a brain teaser.
Well, whatever we're doing, it should drive students thinking. It's not so much on the recall as what patterns, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it's just there's so many possibilities that you can use it for. But I like that because you can insert images and have the kids kind of guess what you're thinking in a picture form.
Kim, are you talking about using the New York Times? What's going on in this picture?
No, that was more of the graph.
Well, we have the graph and then the picture. So that's a great way to use Jamboard, is give kids some sort of representation. Data is huge these days. Is how do you interpret data without necessarily give them all the information? Just look at the chart. So if you go to the New York Times, what's going on in this graph? Every Tuesday they post up a new and interesting chart that's not a bar chart and it's not a pie chart. And it asks students to make inferences and try and guess, what do you think the headline is? What story are they telling you with just the graphic? And so that's where the critical thinking comes from, is the figure it out. Figure it out is critical thinking. And then Jamboard lets you put all these sticky notes in there, like, what do you notice? What do you observe? So I get all the students on the same jam, and we start to 1 + 1 is not 2. It's like, I saw this. Okay, well, I also see this, and they build on each other. And that's what I really want to see in class, is that synergy of ideas that come together when we use Jam.
Definitely. And I want to, go ahead.
Sorry. No, there was a few sample jams that I was referring to, and to piggyback off of what Alice was saying, is basically like picture prompts, interpret the picture, change the background to a certain picture, and then have the students collaborate on like what's going on in the picture, infer that meaning. And also like emoji story writing as well, iconic story writing you can use it for. So, along for visual learners, I was thinking more of using like images or icons or Bitmojis just to put in there so that you're capturing and inferring that meaning for visual learners.
Definitely. And do you, Alice, I know you have a sample jam for us. Are you ready to share it?
Yeah, I can share it. This is my one that I have memorized so I can get to it quickly.
Oh, sorry.
You do it.
I'll do it. Okay, there we go.
You do it. All right. I love open middle. I'm a math teacher, so I scare people off with math examples, but I like to say that good teaching is good teaching. And as Joe Bowler says, math is not special. So it really translates in a lot of ways. Is I want to have students have clues, patterns, at least DOK2. And Jamboard's really perfect for doing that because what a jam, let me go to this next frame here so you actually can see something. Oh, hey, this is the blink one. I thought, I guess I don't have this one memorized. Okay, no, okay, I know what that was, yes. Forgot what I was sharing. It's been a day. Okay, you know, I want to give kids some like context clues if it's English. You know, for math, if you go to openmiddle.com, the theme of what they do is you have the digits 1 through 9, and you can use each digit at most once. So if it's digits 1 through 9, I'm going to delete the 0, and then they're going to have some sort of a template. So I just go to openmiddle.com. And I'm going to pick any of them. I'll do 3rd grade numbers and operations. And I've got this fractions on a number line. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy the image. So when I copy the image, I can just paste it right here. Now here's just a word of caution. Now that I pasted it, you see how it comes over top of my numbers. So I am going to click on this 3 dots and send the order to the back. Take note of the keyboard shortcut so you can do this a little bit quicker. So now this is on the back. So what I want students to do is just add a sticky note. To me, this is what a jam is all about. What do you notice? What do you notice? Right? I want them to add sticky notes. What do you think? Don't do anything first. They can come up to the frame bar, 3 dots. They can duplicate this. Okay, and so then, well, my first strategy is just to drag some numbers up there. Okay, what was the question? Said, create 5 fractions and place them on a number line. Is it sharing?
Yes. It is. You're doing great.
Right? So, you know, almost always the puzzle is just do something, right? Okay, so now, strategize. Why didn't that work? So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate. I'm going to duplicate that frame, duplicate, and I'm going to say why that didn't work. It's literally 9 degrees in my house. I can't think right now, so I'm just going to say that they didn't work. But, right, so what I'm getting here, though, is that messy thinking, that you persevere in problem solving, that you look at something, you make an attempt, you make revisions, and I want to see that be it English, be it history, that they can take some evidence, put some thoughts about it, formulate it, get some feedback, and regroup. And I think that's really what's great about Jamboard is you can do this collaboratively. You always have the opportunity to collaborate with your teacher, if not with a peer. And this is really the best platform for like dragging, for strategizing, for brainstorming and sharing ideas.
Definitely. And in your book, you also talk about how like every frame has its own URL, so you can implant it into your private comments and give feedback. So it's a constant thing. And just for people who are like, hey, I want to start this, but I didn't use this last year. What would you recommend? Like, what tip would you give them to get started this coming school year to implement Jamboard?
I think that they should buy our book. No, what they should do
for sure
is think collaborate, right? Why would I have multiple students on the same jam at the same time? The feature that I really like to focus on are those sticky notes because it's really about students sharing ideas. So all you have to do is go to jam.new, create a brand new jam. That saves to Google Drive, friends. You could just go to drive.google.com and do the new button and get a new jam out of the menu. That totally works. There's nothing wrong with that. I just really like to use jam.new. And that works for like everything, slides.new, docs.new, sheets.new, sites.new, keep.new if you want to Google Keep Note. So you can do jam.new to get a new Google Jamboard. So start with that and add it into Google Classroom. With that middle option, students can edit file. And we're giving students the opportunity to, what do you notice? What do you observe? What struggles do you have? What questions do you have? And because some kids would rather die than raise their hand. So a great place to start is just having kids collaboratively place sticky notes. Get that down and then try some of the other strategies that we have in our book. Kim, you have some suggestions?
Yeah. So
I love it. Yeah.
Is you can use it to differentiate with Google Classroom. So You can create an assignment in Google Classroom for specific students and then attach a jam for as make a copy for, or I'm sorry, attach a jam for edit rights. And then all of those students that are assigned that assignment will have access to that jam and will be able to collaborate together. Now you app smashed it with Google Classroom, and you can access it within the Google Classroom as well. So you can certainly do it that way. Another, to piggyback off of what Alice was saying, in our book, we do suggest we have an idea that you can use it for back channeling. So you can create
Yes.
A jam and change the background, set it up where students can drop questions into your jam. So you can create a customized background, change the background in Jamboard to that customized background, and then let students use the sticky note and then just create a back channel. And you can monitor that jam during your lesson, because now you're giving students a voice. You're giving all students a voice to ask questions and collaborate while you're teaching, or maybe while they're doing small group work, whatnot, but you're giving them a platform to ask questions. So that is another strategy to try as well. So you just have to do it. You just have to go in there.
It's true.
You just got to do it. And what I say, start small.
Yeah, start small.
Start small, and then once you start getting comfortable, you just take those extra steps to, enhance it, maybe use it in a different way, and you'll end up becoming more comfortable as you use it. But you have to start small.
And if you check out our book, we start small. We've got why use Google Jamboard. We're starting it off with some basic tips on just what are the 4 C's, how Jamboard supports doing the 4 C's. And tip number 1 is how to create a jam. So don't let that scare you off. You're like, I already know how to create a jam. Don't worry. We've got 91. We work our way up. We start with create a jam, and then we get up to using it for polling and attendance and teaching handwriting, all kinds of great things. Now, my tip is, Kim was talking about changing the background. Don't feel pressured to make them fancy. Feel pressured to have students interact and share ideas. And so you can make it fancy, or you can just start with a blank one and kids add in those sticky notes. But if you just go to Google Slides, that's how I design my backgrounds, because the dimensions are about the same, and use the file menu and you download it as a PNG, and it'll upload real nicely to the background of your jam so that you can get those graphic organizers. How come I can't use all these fun fonts? Well, that's because Slides is a presentation tool, not Jam. So just use Slides, get your fun fonts, make it the way you want, download it, add it as a background. And then what your Jam is, it's not for presenting, it's for thinking, right? So get students to think around that graphic organizer, and works really awesome.
And that's great that you said that. And Sally says that she loves her book. So thanks for sharing that, Sally. I love it too. And I love that you both are like, you can't just use it. It's for collaboration. It has a purpose, and you always say, Alice, that teaching digitally is different. It's not the same. You're not trying to replace a worksheet. You're just trying to get kids and students to collaborate, show their thinking, show their process, get them engaged, give them wait time, for crying out loud. Like, get away from the hand raising so that every student can answer in their own time, give them think time. This is a natural way to do that. And so I love that. I love everything about this. Yes, go ahead.
Can I get my Joe Bowler quote in?
You better. Yeah,
I better. It's like, that's my drinking game. I brought some tea, every time I mention Joe Bowler, if anyone knows me. I'm a huge fan, is stop asking kids to raise their hand. We give kids the impression that we want a fast answer instead of a thoughtful answer, and Jamboard really helps students to get that wait time. When I see that population of sticky notes, I know that students are thinking, as opposed to the first student is done thinking, and did they even really think, or they just open their mouth?
Right.
And another thing that I want to say is that it's not just for students, right? Like, we can use Jamboard for professional development with our colleagues.
Yes.
So all these strategies that we're mentioning right now, we can certainly use with our colleagues and give them a back channel and give them a space to ask questions and whatnot. So it's all.
I'll tell you what, I've been doing virtual trainings all year like everybody else, and adults will not turn on their cameras if I ask them to, and I won't make them. This is their home, this is their private space. They don't want to be recorded. They don't want people taking screenshots, and a lot of valid and great reasons. And so using that jam just helps me know they're still there. They are participating. When I give people an opportunity, like, hey, fill out this Google form, put some stuff on a jam, even though I can't see their face, I can see they are engaged in the lesson. And so if you look at the research from Harvard, it says active student engagement is the win for learning. Also, the study shows that people think that they learn more from lecture than from active student engagement, but that's actually not true. And so note taking is not active student engagement. It's actually you thinking, you doing ideas, you doing the discussion and conversations. And I get the students to do the talking when I give them the opportunity to share on a jam, throw in those sticky notes.
I love that. I love that. And we're getting close to our time. Oh, wait. Okay, go ahead, Kim, and then I'll ask my next question. No, go ahead.
What I was going to say was, I know Alice was so excited about getting her Jamboard today, and she's all, talking about her Jamboard. What I'm going to do with my Jamboard kiosk this year is keep it on the side of my room, and I'm going to plug it in, and I'm going to make it part of, I don't want to say like a workstation or a group, but it's going to be for a group of students to work collaboratively on the kiosk. And when they are done working with their jam, they can actually save it right to their drive. So it's going to be part of my classroom. I'm not going to use it as a presentation tool. I'm not going to hook up my laptop to it. I'm going to use it for students to collaborate on, to think, to work through critical thinking and problem solving, and to try to support the 4 C's with the kiosk.
I don't want to spend too much time talking about the kiosk because I don't want to give anyone the impression that they should go get an $8,000 device. Although I got an incredible deal that I got it for $1,000. I don't know how. That's how I got it. So if it's on sale again for $1,000, sure. But honestly, don't feel like you need to have the kiosk. I have it this year. Kim has it this year. And I'm with her. It's like, I've got mine on wheels because I don't want to be the focal point of the room. And that's really what Jam allows us to do, is to spread the knowledge and the conversations. So even if you do end up getting the kiosk, which is just a big fancy screen, don't set it at the front of the room. It comes with a wall mount. I highly encourage you to pay the extra money to get the wheels because you can move it around, do the small station rotation, and take it to kids.
Right. And lots of people are agreeing with both of you. And before we go, we don't have that much time. What are your favorite apps? You do talk about app smashing in your book. What are your favorite apps to use with Jamboard?
Well, I like Bitmoji and I like Equatio. So I would definitely recommend those 2 apps to smash with Jamboard.
I think once you realize that you can take a screenshot and add the screenshot onto there and then put your ideas and share your strategies and thinking, everything becomes app smashing with Jam. But I have to agree with her. I have a Bitmoji addiction. So if you get the Bitmoji Chrome extension and right click on the Bitmoji and you choose copy image, and you can Control V paste. So just so you know, when you use a jam, you cannot drag images onto the canvas. You have to use the insert image icon unless you Control V paste, which works great for Bitmoji.
Yes, that is wonderful. Now, we are just about to go. I want to thank you both for being here. It's been and thank you for showing a sample jam. And I just want to encourage anybody out there, maybe you've never used it, but it really is fun. I've got to play on it several times. And I also like the name Jam because it takes me back to the 80s, which is my favorite decade. So I'm just going to put that out there. But thank you all so much for joining us. Ladies, before we go, do you have any last words to share or wisdom to share about the Jamboard?
Just try it. Just dive in and try it and get our book because we go over the basics so that you can be guided through your experience.
My last tip is there's multiple frames, so take advantage of it. Persevere in problem solving, think through ideas over multiple frames, and ask students to show their messy thinking of brainstorming, collaborating, coming up with a final project, and maybe then moving to slides to present their ideas. Or use Flipgrid. Please this year use Flipgrid.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, thank you. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.